It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. Tuesday evening, August 14th. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. My job is to help new traders earn consistent profits using a simple and reliable trading strategy. And my plan this evening is to identify the most reliable trading opportunities, setting up for tomorrow's trading session. And tonight, I'm covering crude oil, S&P, Nasdaq, gold, and euro. Starting off this evening, crude is bearish with a spike and channel pattern. We're going to see a bunch of those tonight on the newsletter, and that tells me to look for selling opportunities using buyer failures up near the base of that channel tomorrow. Get a great looking chart on oil in just a moment. S&P is bullish. Strong spike higher tonight for the Emini. That tells me to expect one more leg higher before those sellers try fading this range back down to those lows tomorrow morning. So get to it early tomorrow on the S&P. We'll grab a look at that in a moment. Nasdaq is bullish with a trading range, but a recent strong spike in channel pattern tells me I should be able to get one more leg higher. So looking for buying opportunities on a pullback tomorrow, early tomorrow morning, I might add. We'll talk more about that in a second. Gold is bearish and trading inside a range this evening. No surprise there on the gold. That tells me to look for selling opportunities, this time using buyer failures and that 2-try rule up above that range high tomorrow morning. And wrapping up tonight on the euro is bearish with a strong breakout below the range today. That tells me to wait for the sellers to finish their 2-try rule and look for buying opportunities going back up into that range tomorrow morning. A very, very strong move to finish off the session on the euro, all the way down to that pendulum swing. Get a great looking chart on the euro, so stay tuned on that for more. Before we jump in to put our plan together, I got a great newsletter in store for you guys and gals. Got a ton of big moves setting up for tomorrow's session. Got some big news and some big opportunities on Wednesday morning. Great newsletter for you guys tonight. Before we jump into those charts, though, I do want to remind you, if you're watching me on YouTube this evening, you can find a detailed description of this entire trading strategy written out right here on my blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. I'll leave the link in the description of this video. Also, if you have any questions about anything covered in this video tonight, please remember you can post those questions in the comment section below. And if you like what you see, please help support this channel by subscribing and make sure you hit that bell icon. That way you always get notified every time I publish another video. Oh, and don't forget, if you really want to stay in tune with everything we do here at School of Trade, head on over here to the blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. This is where all the action happens every day. And make sure you join our mailing list. Upper left-hand corner, all I need is your name and your email address, and I'll send you an email every time I publish something new. If you're on social media, StockTwits, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your favorite flavor of choice, you can find me on social media. I post stuff on my social channels all day, every day. You're not going to find them anywhere else on the interwebs. If you're on social, follow me in the lower left-hand corner. And how about those charts from tonight's video? How easy is this, right? All the charts that I spend hours putting together for you guys every evening on this newsletter. That's right, you can have them on your computer ready for tomorrow. Download those charts and be locked and loaded for tomorrow's session, right, by following that link below the video tonight. And speaking of tomorrow's session, I've got a free pass for you, right, upper right-hand corner. If you're not a member here at School of Trade and you'd like to learn more about our trading strategy, get a feel for what it's like in our trade room, and get a much deeper dive into how I use market psychology, technical analysis, and entry patterns, grab that free pass in the upper right-hand corner, and I'll see you tomorrow in the trade room as a guest. Don't forget, we get a toll-free number on the homepage of our website. You can always call me in the office, drop me a comment in the comment section below, right? Or you can always hit me up on live support on the right-hand side of our website. I look forward to answering all your questions and work with you whether or not you're a client or not. Let's jump right in, guys. Tomorrow's news schedule, Wednesday, August the 15th. What do we got here on the schedule here for tomorrow? Tomorrow, of course, is the middle of the month, and it's the middle of the week. Now, anytime I have a Wednesday, I always know, right, we got that weekly inventory report, right? So if you love trading oil as much as I do, right, you know about that weekly inventory report. Now, you know me, I'm not a big fan of trading during news, right? If you've got a lot of experience, I'll teach you how to trade the news. But for all the new traders out there, especially people who are just bullish learning right now. I always tell people around this inventory report, 10 a.m. Eastern time is my cutoff around that weekly inventory report. You may see some opportunities after that news comes out, but I trade a strategy that works on everything, so we kind of have that luxury where we don't need to mess with the slop and chop that comes after that news report comes out tomorrow morning at 10:30 Eastern time. So I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to trade tomorrow morning between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock Eastern time on crude oil. This is only for crude oil. This will not apply to any other markets. And again, 10 a.m. is my cutoff right on that weekly inventory report. That is a big deal tomorrow, right? So do not ignore that. That will impact market personality tomorrow morning. So get there early, right? I'll be at my desk early, 8 o'clock Eastern time. That way we have a head start on this and we can finish up just before that news comes out after 10 a.m. Eastern time. Other than that, though, right, I don't want to be a downer on this. We got some big news tomorrow morning, too. First of all, retail sales. Now, retail sales, you're thinking the overall economy, obviously, right? Consumer confidence here. That's going to be big, first of all, for the Nasdaq, right? You can't even think about retail right now without thinking Amazon, right? So you think about Nasdaq tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern time. And I could also see how this will definitely be a shot in the arm for gold as well. Market sentiment coming out of retail sales. Probably not as much on gold, more Nasdaq tomorrow. So look for those, right, E-minis to be reacting tomorrow early at 8:30 Eastern time. And then we have the industrial production number, right? Now, this is going to be tied to manufacturing, right? Well, manufacturing, when I think about manufacturing, what do we think about? We think about all the stuff that goes into building houses, right? Creating electronics, things like that, right? You've got all the metals, right, that we need to get for all of the, building houses, copper piping, all the metals, right? Those will be impacted tomorrow at 9:15 Eastern time. And again, right, we definitely can assume that's going to impact, right, gold and probably a little bit of those E-minis tomorrow as well, because of course, with those metals, you're also thinking iPhones, right? You're thinking all the stuff that Amazon sells. So I would imagine you're going to see a broad impact on that industrial production number, right, tomorrow morning as well. So we really got some good news tomorrow, right? We get the retail sales at 8:30, industrial production at 9:15. So I'm expecting to have a pretty good day tomorrow morning. We've been waiting all week here for this news, right? There was no news today, no news yesterday. So we're really going to hit us with a little 1-2 punch tomorrow with that retail sales number at 8:30 Eastern time. Don't forget, we'll be in our trade room tomorrow, right, at 8 a.m. Eastern time. We'll put the plan together tonight, and then we'll trade that plan together tomorrow morning. So be there with me, right? And get there early, right? Get there on time tomorrow because, it is summertime trading, so we are really trying to get to it as early as we can. All right, let's jump in here tonight. We got a lot to cover here tonight. A lot of spikes here, a lot of strong moves going into the end of the session. We'll be talking a lot about spiking channels here tonight, so we'll break off into a small training on that here in just a second. But first of all, we got crude oil, S&P, Nasdaq, gold, and of course we can't forget about, right, that mighty euro tonight. Starting off tonight with the crude oil, right? Crude is bearish, trading range, spike and channel, and a measured move on the chart this evening. First of all, the trading range, this is the same range from last night's newsletter. That trading range tells me to sell high, right? Buy low, and avoid that middle, right? Buy low, sell high, and avoid the middle. And with price collapsing off the high, right? With price collapsing off that high, we know exactly where the bears are looking to go, right? They want to go back down to that 66.37 area, right? But don't forget about that pendulum swing, right? The amount of the move up is usually the amount of the move down. Where's that put us? Yeah, right around that 65.40 area. Don't believe me? Look at how well behaved the pendulum swing has been so far, right? So there's no reason to think this market won't be gunning for. Again, first target is 66.37. Next one here should be right around that 40 area for tomorrow, right? So the range tells me sell high at this point and look for targets down at those lows. I think the big clue in this chart tonight, though, is this spike and channel. We see a spike down, a pullback, and then thanks to the recent API report, we see another leg lower. Take that, right, channel drop the lows up to that high, right, and that gives us our channel here now. We'll talk about that in a much more detail in a moment, but basically spiking channels tell me that the momentum of the market is strong, in this example for the bears, but more importantly, it reminds me to look for selling opportunities up around the base of that, right, of that channel. Right, so that's the key component you want to be thinking about when you have a spike in channel, bullish or bearish, right? And look at how well the base of that channel, it lines up beautifully, right, with the high of that trading range, right? And remember, the trading range is exactly where we want to be selling the high, right? So we want to sell the high of the range, we want to sell that high, right, of the base of that channel. So this is really starting to come together nicely, right? We've got that momentum going lower. I want to be a seller. Where do I sell? I want to sell the high of that range, right? And then we have that spike in channel with the base of that channel. You're thinking right around this. You know, it's not going to be perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. Very, very rarely there's anything perfect, right? Textbook examples are only in textbooks. So usually this will go, you know, maybe it goes all the way, maybe it goes through it a little bit, but, you know, in that area up there, in that battle zone between 79, right, and let's say 52, that would really be, right, the ideal scenario here. So that's the goal, right? The goal is ride this momentum, get us down to that 37, and then maybe we can hold a runner. Maybe we get a lucky runner. It'll have to be a runner, right, down to that 65, 40 area there tomorrow. So what are we thinking here? How do we get short off of that high here? Well, if price goes higher, I want to see us go up above the top of that channel. If we see the price go above the top of that channel, what's going to happen is the moving average will be below us. And of course, anytime we see a strong counter trend move, we always know that the counter trend, in this case, buyers, are probably going to try to reverse this trend. You can see in a good example of kind of what to be looking for, right, in the upper left-hand corner, right? I would expect those buyers are going to try to send this thing higher, right? So of course, we're expecting here those buyers to try to run this sucker higher. What I'd like to see is let those buyers try to run it higher. The momentum at this point is far too bearish to want to be a buyer right now. At the same time, this is a trading range environment. Do we buy the high of the range? No, we buy the low of the range, right? So that's not lining up very well for the bulls. That tells me the odds are definitely in my favor, or should I say, the odds are against the buyers. And if I wait for those buyers, right, to try to buy that pullback here, well, guess what? I know exactly now where their stops are, and I can sell right into those stops now. Right now, as we get that sell into those stops, this will typically be a pretty strong move, right? Again, you can see what happens, right, when those buyers try to buy breakouts and they fail, right? That's the same type of pattern I'm looking for, right, up around this area here. Now, we get that failure. By the way, this is what we call a two-try failure pattern, right? Because the buyers try once, the buyers try twice, a two-try failure pattern. That failure pattern leads to strength because at that point, sellers are selling, and now because the buyers are getting stopped out, they're selling as well. But we don't want to chase after it, right? Because we don't want to trade the middle, and we don't want to sell into those lows, right? So what's the best plan here now? Sell high, find a new channel, off that channel, right? Grab that channel, perfect, and we're looking to sell up around that high. I call this a hidden channel, and of course, it's a pullback pattern, simple pullback pattern, right? So pretty easy there, right? So we're going up, one try, two try. We look to sell into that failure. Failure leads to strength. Don't chase after the strength. Bring it on down, find that new channel, and then sell as close to that high, right, as we can get. Two-try rule into failure, failure into strength, strength into pullback, and pullback down to those lows. Now, before I go any further, I realize I might be speaking a complete different language right now if you're here for the first time today. If you're here for the first time today, you could go back and watch all of my old videos and slowly put this stuff together, but I can do you a solid on this and give you a shortcut, right? I would hope somebody would do that for me if I was brand new to trading as well. So to give you guys a shortcut, in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to give you guys a great free trading course. Upper right-hand corner, I'm also going to put that link in the description of the video tonight. So if you don't want to register now, you can do it at the end as well. But again, not to worry, pause the video. I'll be here when you come back, right? I can wait for you. But grab that free course in the upper right-hand corner. Register for the free trading course, especially if you're a new trader, because you're going to get the truth about how the markets work, the psychology of the markets, the technical analysis tools that you need to be using in different market conditions, and of course my entry patterns, right? Those will be some key components for you guys, right, with that free trading course, right? And then of course we can talk about working together as a client, right, later on down the line. But grab that free course though. It's free, it's easy, it'll be the best investment if you're a brand new trader. It's in the upper right hand corner in the description. Okay, now what if price keeps going lower here? Right? What if we keep going lower here? What if we don't pull back? Well, again, we want to focus on selling high here, right? So if we end up down to those lows, I'm going to wait for basically one of two scenarios, right? If we do end up going lower here, I'm going to look for either an up, one try, two try, failure, strength, right? Pull back, back down, or we go lower, we finish off the pendulum swing, we finish off the measured move, right? One try, two try. We finish off that measured move, and then we start looking for the rotation back into that range. Remember, it's buy low of a range. Now, how do we buy low? Well, it's important to remember, right, at this point in the game, get that off of there, right, we have a bear bias, right, into this market. So it's important to remember that when the market is bearish going into a trading range, this is very, very important. When the market's bearish, I can sell into buyer failures with confidence. However, when the market's bearish, I cannot buy into a seller failure with as much confidence. Does that make sense, right? So trying to buy that failure, again, right, assume we go lower, we pull back to the moving average, right? Those bears, they try to sell, we look for their failure. You can try to buy this. It's just a lot of times what's going to happen is it's going to go up and you're going to have sellers waiting up here for a trap high. Right? Love trap patterns. This is an easy way to get trapped, right? Because this is where sellers will be coming in to try to sell high, right? They're going to use that prior swing and they're going to try to ride that momentum. In fact, I'm going to show you an example of that exact strategy just a few minutes from now, right, on the euro. So make sure you stick around for the euro. It'll be the last chart tonight, right, on our newsletter. That way you can see what that will look like, right? So it's really going to be a good from A to Z here tonight, right, on that newsletter. So rather than trying to sell up here, rather than trying to buy up here, because that's where we can expect sellers be waiting, again, it's an overall bear market. What I'd rather do is let's wait for the failure to actually work. Right? I know it's tough to watch it go without you, but trust me, right? We talked about this last night, right? This is a 40-60 trade, right? The 60-40 trade is the one coming up off that low. That's your 60-40 trade, right? We talked about this last night on the newsletter, right? You got to know the difference between a 40-60 trade and a 60-40 trade, right? The 40-60 trade, okay, it's by the time you pay commissions and slippage, a couple days off each month, right? You're not going to make any money that way. You need to get those winning ratios up much higher, right? And there's a big difference between a 40-60 and 60-40. We talked about that last night. Okay, so I'd rather go out, right, and buy that one, right? That's a much more reliable buy, right, off of those lows. All right, now, last but not least, right, how do we break out of a range? What does a breakout look like, right? A breakout is always going to have first, and I call this a 1-2-3 breakout. It's the same thing as the 1-2-3 reversal, and it's basically 1-2-3 run. Now, what you want to do is, here's an example for example, right? Here's a good example. Here we have a real strong move higher, right? Real strong move higher. But you'll notice one thing. It never pulls back to the moving average. So that strong move higher, that's just one leg. When it pulls back to the moving average, that's the second leg now starting to go higher. That second leg would need to hold for this to be a breakout, right? And you'll see it over and over and over again, right? We see these strong move up, pull back, no explosion, right? Strong move down, pull back, no follow through, right? So remember, it doesn't matter if we get a strong move down. It's got to hold and run. Strong move up can easily fail, And we're going right back into that range again, just like this one, right? Again, 2-try rule, right? Failure, strength, new channel. I'm not making this stuff up, guys. You can see these patterns everywhere if you know what you're looking for. So how do we break out? Strength, first of all, going to be a strong move, right? Got to give buyers a reason to try to buy the breakout. Second, pull back to the moving average. Now, again, I'm not going to buy this pullback because, again, we're trying to sell this sucker with a failure back down in, right? Third, right? 1, 2, 3 is a strong move out. That strong move, now I've got confidence. Find that new channel, draw off the highs, up off that low, right? And buy the pullback, right? In a bull market, I'm buying at the lows of a channel. In a bear market, selling the highs, right, of that channel. So it breaks to the upside, find that new channel by drawing off those 2 highs, right? And trust me, that's a very, very reliable trade, right? That pullback there. Okay, so really, really good stuff there. Very, very simple strategy for tomorrow. Just remember, the bears have the edge right now until proven otherwise. So sell off the high, but if we're buying off that low, right, I want to wait for that, right? 1 try, 2 try, no failure. I'll wait for that pullback and round it back up. Just this one, right? 1 try, 2 try, right? Failure off, right? You can see everybody's selling right there, right? Pretty easy to see. Okay, looking good. So that covers the crude. And again, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and you got to be there early tomorrow because, of course, the inventory report, right, at 10:30 Eastern time. Let's keep going, though. I'll get some S&P for you here. Now, the S&P and the Nasdaq are going to look similar tonight, but we have that retail sales number tomorrow, so I doubt we're going to, who knows, but, I doubt we're going to look like the same tomorrow once the news comes out. Let's put it that way, right, because we get that big news, right, tomorrow morning at 8:30, that retail sales number, and that's pretty much the big news of the week. So I would expect to see the Nasdaq's probably going to be reacting to that tomorrow morning. Just be aware of that. Starting off tonight on the S&P, though, the S&P is bullish. We've got a trading range, got a spike in channel, right, and of course a measured move with a nice support trend line on the chart this evening. First of all, the trading range reminds me to buy low, sell high, right, fade the breakouts using that 2-try rule, right, which is good because this strong move higher, right, this strong move higher is the big clue. Strong move higher, it's only the first attempt to break out, right, for these buyers. And remember, and this will go back to anybody who watches my newsletter every evening, anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, anytime we see a strong move in one direction, the odds are extremely high that we're going to see a 2-legged pullback, 38 to 50% pullback. I don't really pay attention to the numbers on the pullback, but a 2-legged pullback and then a retest of that high, right? So anytime I see a strong move in one direction, I've got to respect the momentum, no matter what the scenario is. This just happens to be above the high of a trading range, right? So I still think we're going to get one more leg higher, right, as we go. Okay, so strong move. First attempt, anytime we see a strong move, right, we always look for that second leg higher. And what better place to look for a quick second leg higher than a pullback to the base of this spike in channel, right? Spike in channel, we saw one bearish on crude oil. Now we're getting one bullish here on the S&P 500, which is also, right? Let's just keep on piling these things up, right? Strong bull move. I want to see a pullback to be a buyer. As soon as we get one more leg, we got support trend lines here, right? Now, this is beautiful. We have a support trend line coming down overhead, which I call a reversal line, right, when I'm trying to use that support trend line as support. And then look what else we've got, right? Another support trend line coming in overhead there too, right? So now we have a very strong, right, a very strong move higher into a spike in channel. We just talked about this, right? Spike in channels tell me what? They tell me to buy where? The base of that channel, right around that 2836, 2835 area, right? What else, right? We've got a rising support trend line here, a falling support trend line there. That sounds right opposite. You can see they already did it once, up, back, and go. I want to use that same right strategy again here. I want to pull back and get one more leg. Remember though, We only expect one more leg. That's all I can really bank on right now, right? It's the strength of this move going higher, right? And the fact is we haven't seen that deep pullback yet before we go back up and retest that high. So I'm looking to buy a pullback, but after the second leg higher, it's anyone's game. We could break out, right? This could be a range breakout, right? That strength, pullback strength. Or we might find ourselves back to retest that high, we fizzle out, and we're back into that range tomorrow, right? So promise me you're not going to get too aggressive on this after we get that second leg. So again, I want to buy the pullback, right? I want to buy a pullback. And again, it's very, very important. Remember, the only reason why I'm looking to buy a pullback right now is because of this strong move. That much strength. Well, look what happened here, right? Look. Strong move up. What do we expect? Two-legged pullback, retest of the high, right? Strong move up. We haven't seen that two-legged pullback yet, right? You get it, right? Look at it. Look. Strong move down, two-legged pullback, retest of the low, right? I told you, I'm not making this stuff up, right? This is not from the old school trading books. This is from 10 years of watching these charts every single day of my life, right? That's where I get this from. I am unfortunately self-taught, right? Unfortunately, I'm very much self-taught, which means I have all the bumps and bruises and all the losses to prove it. So the bottom line is, spike in channel, right? I want to see the pullback. Now, as we pull back on this, right? What's going to happen? Oh, you know that sellers are going to try to come in, right? They're going to try to come in and sell this thing. But they're going to be selling right into some support trend lines here. They're also selling against that momentum right now. I realize we're bearish, but the momentum right now short term is bullish. So I want to see a seller coming in. I want to see that same, this is the exact opposite direction, but same pattern we talked about on oil, right? Seller failure into buyer strength. I'm not looking for the bull strength. I'm not buying up here, right? But at this point now, I can find that new channel and I can buy that, right? I can buy that pullback. Right, so these are the patterns that I'm looking for here. Seller failure, right, into buy pullback. Those are the two patterns looking for tomorrow, assuming we can pull back right off of this high. Okay, now, if at that point now, we've got that strong move up, that pullback, if this thing just explodes, right, on retail sales, industrial production, whatever, or nothing, doesn't matter, right, then we find that new channel, right, and now we know we're buying the pullbacks, right, to that channel as we go higher. So it's got to be explosive, right? It's got to be explosive as we go higher. If we pull back and retest that high, fizzle out a little bit, then I'm looking for that sell back down right into the range, okay? So it's really all about what happens up here, right? I'm not expecting us to just collapse back down in. It is summertime trading, so anything can happen. And it's not just summertime trading. Anything can happen anytime, right? So you got to be aware, this is just the ideal scenario. This is the calm waters. This is the smooth sailing I'm looking for, right, tomorrow. And we're going to trade this strategy together with all of our clients, right, tomorrow morning, right? So that's what I'm looking for. If we don't get that strong push through, right, then we'll look for that sell. You know what, again, looking for that move down, find that channel, right, and we go from there, all right, sell off that high. So that's the plan as the price goes back up. Now, I'd be lying to you if I said there wasn't a possibility this thing just kind of fizzles out here and runs lower, right? If we see this, because again, it's a range, right? If we see this range just collapse, if it just runs lower here, I'm not interested in catching a falling knife, right? I don't care. For example, we saw a couple days ago, we saw that strong move higher here, right? If it just turns around and goes strong move down, I'm not going to buy into this. And again, I'm not just trying to buy blindly down here, right? I want to see those bears fail. That's the edge, right? Every business needs some edge over their competition to be successful. Trading business is no different, and I need that edge to get me into that trade tomorrow, right? If we see this sucker just collapse, right, and head lower, at that point now, I've got my eyes, right, on those highs. I don't want to trade the middle, and I'm basically at this point now, I'm going to be at the mercy of trying to find one of these levels coming off the high to try to sell off that, right, off that high tomorrow. It's not going to be easy, right? I'm not saying it's easy. Maybe a channel, maybe we drop into the range, we go sideways here, right? If we see it go sideways, then we look for that one try, two try, failure back down, right? We talked about that last night. on the newsletter. When it comes to trading ranges, whether they be large ranges or small ranges, I'm always looking for that 2-try rule, right? Just like here, right? 1 try, 2 try, then back in, right? So if we go down to that, if we go down into the range in a spike and we sit here tomorrow, same principle, just in a smaller, right, smaller time frame. 1 try, 2 try, sell back down, right? That's the same type of scenario we're looking for in the bigger picture. And again, if you want to see literally hundreds and hundreds of examples of these 2-try rules, of all of these patterns, go into the description and grab that free course, right? In the description or in the upper right-hand corner, grab that free course. I'm going to send you literally hundreds of hours, right? A link to watch hundreds of hours, right, of examples of these patterns, right? You will not be disappointed. All right, so that's the plan, right? Pulls back, blasts higher, we're going long, right? Pulls back, collapses lower. Yeah, well, now we know we're looking to sell up around that high, right, as we go lower. If we end up all the way back down again, right, this market is pretty much, right, pretty much balanced at this point. Slight bear bias, 1 try, 2 try, failure, strength, pullback, right, and up off of those lows. Buy those lows, sell those highs, avoid those middles, right? And again, if we get that strength pullback, strength breakout, I have no problem trading breakouts. I just have to see the proof that I need. Now, over the Nasdaq, a lot of this is going to be repeating myself, but there's one, right, there's one key difference, and that is we get some big news tomorrow morning. So this may get interrupted right before too long. Nasdaq is bullish with a trading range, a spike in channel, and a key support trend line right on the chart this evening. The trading range is important. Tells me to buy low, sell high, right, and avoid the middle. This is the same trading range we've talked about all week. I've taken that trading range, I've expanded it up to find resistance, expanded it down to find support, right? You can see how well those support and resistance levels work, right? You can also see the pendulum swing. Pendulum swings up, pendulum swings down. The amount of the move back and forth is usually very symmetrical, right? So as we can see right now, right, we've got that range in full effect. The strong move higher, though, is just too strong to ignore. That tells me that buyers will most likely wait for buying opportunities on the next pullback, right? That spike in channel, the base of that spike in channel will make for an excellent location to be a buyer. I also have a support trend line here coming off that high, right? Support trend line now, right? So that will be a great spot to use as support, right? So we get a lot going on here. Strong move up. Anytime we see a strong move up, what do we expect? Two-legged pullback and a retest of that high. So I do expect we're going to see these buyers try one more time. Just the way they're holding this. See how buyers are coming in every time it pulls back. This is a very different scenario than we saw earlier on in the session, right? Where price did win, right? Did scream higher, but you notice buyers didn't come to the rescue. The buyers are here. They're showing up here right now. And that means we want to look for that deep pullback. It's a spike in channel. Right? Spike in channel pattern obviously tells me look for the base of that channel. The base of that channel also lines up nicely with that trend line. And so this is the exact same strategy we have on the S&P, looking for that pullback, right? That failure, right? That failure into strength. Again, the reason why it's strength is because sellers will fail and become buyers. Buyers are trying to buy low anyways. We're looking for that new channel now, right? I'm going to try to buy off the low of that, right? Off that channel. Now remember, at that point, right? If it explodes higher, we have a breakout, right? If it explodes higher, we have a breakout, right? If it doesn't, though, if it just kind of rambles around up here, right? We could then be looking for deep pullback up and then back down now into that trading range. So remember, it's very important. We're looking for that one more leg going higher. Where we go from there, it's really anyone's guess at this point, right? So most important thing is going to be right now is do we get the pullback? And if we do get the pullback and they don't hold, right? If it just collapses down here right now, right? If we just collapse on the way lower here, fine. We'll use that as resistance now. Find that new channel. Look to sell off the high of the range, right? Off the high of that, right, of that trend line resistance, the range high, right? You always want to sell at resistance. And again, when it comes to selling at resistance, I like to use trap patterns. I like to use failure patterns. I like pullback patterns, right? Get a lot of different examples of that in our free trading course, which you can take in the upper right-hand corner, right, or in the description, right, in the YouTube video. All right, guys? And then don't forget, if we do collapse all the way back down, one try. Remember, back to the moving average, right? The moving average is always the key, right? Moving average always tells, right? We roll lower, okay? This is just one try, right? It's got to pull back to the moving average. Once it pulls back to the moving average, aha, now we have a second try, right? And we saw an example back here, right? This move down, that's not one try, two try right there, right? That's just one try, two try, back up. Right? So it's really important that you remember it's got to test that moving average. Once we have that second try, then we can look for that failure into strength. Don't chase after it, right? Buy that pullback off that hidden channel, and we're going higher from there. So I know I'm repeating myself a lot in this one, but again, I want to make sure I go over all the different options. If you have any specific questions about this chart, don't forget you can always post those questions in the comment section below. And while you're there, don't forget, give me a thumbs up on this video if you're really enjoying the video right now. It really helps me a lot, right, when you give me a thumbs up, right, on those videos. So thank you very much on that. Let's keep going. How about some gold on this now? How about some gold here? Gold is bearish with a trading range, measured move in the chart this evening, right? The trading range is a bear bias. That tells me to look for selling opportunities using buyer failures and that two try rule up above the highs. But if price tries to run lower, I got that measured move support level giving me a great place to look for buying opportunities using that two try rule from the sellers tomorrow morning. So range, right? Bear market, trading range, right, and measured move. It's very easy to see this market is bearish right now. So this is a definite, right, this is a definite bear market. We want to focus on selling. We had a strong move down, a two-legged pullback, right, and a retest of the low. Bears, mission accomplished. Now, once we retest those lows, we look for either acceptance, going lower, or we look for rejection off of that low. Which do we have here right now, guys? What do you think it is? Just take a guess. Does it look like the sellers went through the low, right? Are they accepting new lows? Or does it look like the sellers took profit at the low and they're rejecting the idea of lower prices? If you said rejection, you're right. It doesn't need to be a big explosive rejection. You can easily see we go down, we pull back, we retest the low. That's the exact same principle we talked about earlier, right? Strong move down, two-legged pullback. Where are we going? Retest the low, right? If we go through the low, we usually look for a measured move, right? If we bounce off of that low, we call that rejection. This then becomes a trading range, and we then look to sell. One try, two try, failure, strength, pullback, back down to that low. Make sense, right? Okay, so your instincts were correct on this, right? It looks like those sellers took their profit right there. And I say that because it doesn't need to be exaggerated. It doesn't need to be this huge, bounce. It's just very obvious, right? They took their profit right there, right? We didn't see sellers extending that move down, right? They took their profit, right? So we know it's a trading range, okay? Knowing that it's a trading range, it's a bear bias to it. So I want to sell off that high, right? Now that's the easy part, right? We go up, buyers try to buy the pullback. You can see an example of this earlier on today, right? Buyers try to buy the pullback. We know where their stops are, right? And we can sell into their stops, okay? We then find that new channel, try to sell off the high of that, right, of that channel. And again, you're trying to get in short as close to the high as you can, right? So again, it's a buyer failure pattern into a seller pullback pattern, right? Two try rule, buyer failure, right, into that pullback pattern. So relatively easy there. You can see a good example here. One try, two try, failure back down, right? Good example back here. One try, two try, failure back down, right? You can see here they even went out as far as, right, running that thing down off that high and selling off that channel high as well, right? So the pattern works really, really well. We've got that already, right? So one try, two try. And again, don't be spooked if it really runs, right? If this thing really runs higher here, don't be spooked by it. It's a bear market, right? Let them try once, let them try twice, sell into that failure, and then sell the high, right, of that channel. The real challenge tomorrow will be if price goes lower, because now I've got that strong move we used to finish off yesterday's session. I'm going to put that down for a measured move down here. Now, I also have the size of this range, right, projected up, projected down. So this area down here is a real hot area here for support. And as I mentioned earlier, the euro, which we'll finish on tonight, has a lot of these examples all wrapped into one. So we'll stay tuned for the euro here in a couple seconds here. So if we go lower here, it's a bear market. So remember, I cannot just buy a seller failure just because it's a failure pattern, right? See what happens? We went lower, one try, two try. See what happened here? Right? And they got lucky on this one, right? But see, the sellers were not about to give up on that, right? They really fought to sell as that market, right, as it went high. And you can see they almost won, right? Same thing will happen here. One try, two try. You're going to see a lot of times where in this little area right here, right, you're going to see sellers coming in and they're going to sell and run it lower. All right. Now, I'm not too big of a fan of selling down here because it's difficult to pick which one's going to work. You can see how difficult it was for those bears earlier. I'm just saying that this is going to make your job really, really difficult to buy that failure. All right. So if that happens, just wait for it again, right? Wait for the one try, two try. And this time, right, it's that failure now that shows us some strength. And I know it's tough to watch trades go without you. Welcome to the business of trading. Welcome to life overall, right? It's probably a good time that somebody tells you, if nobody has told you this yet, that in life there can be a lot of times when you don't get what's fair, right? You're not going to get into every opportunity. You're going to see opportunities, you're going to miss them, and it's frustrating. But you know what? If you just show up and you work hard, you get in early and you stay late, you do what you say what you do, and you give it your best, right? Life's going to give you some lucky bounces, and that's all you can really hope for. That's kind of the honest truth. And trading is the same way. Get in early, leave late, work hard, follow the plan. Yeah, you're going to miss some trades every once in a while, but the best part is you don't need every single trade. With leverage and with all these different opportunities, you've got plenty of opportunity every day to take good trades. You don't need to dilute yourself and put too much risk out there. All right, off my soapbox and back to our plan here. So again, buying off that low. Yeah, Uncle Joe's off his soapbox now. Sorry for that little rant there. But it's important to remember that trading is like life. You're not going to get everything. It's going to be challenging sometimes. Sometimes you do everything right, and it still doesn't work. But you got to just keep put those pants on one foot at a time and get back to work and do it again, right? You'll get better and the market will reward you for your hard work. So we're buying off of that low. One more thing here on gold. Again, don't forget breakouts, right? Strength, pullback, strength, right? Don't forget strength, pullback, strength. If we do happen to see strength tomorrow, it's been very, very slow here on gold. So if it does sit here quietly in the middle, remember, not much has changed. One try, two try, no failure. Look for that pullback going back up from there. Or, right, if it goes sideways here, up, one try, two try, failure, back down. Breakout, right? 1, 2, 3, breakout. Got to pull back to that moving average. If it does, then we're going higher. If we do break out higher here now, don't forget that big range, right, from earlier on this month is up around that 12.16 to 12.23 area. This range will be a big carrot at the end of the stick for the buyers if we get that breakout, right, going higher here tomorrow morning. All right, so easy does it tomorrow on gold, right? Again, has been relatively slow on gold, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. And then last but not least here, wrapping up tonight on the euro. The euro is bearish with a trading range, a pendulum swing, a strong bear run, and a measured move on the chart this evening. The trading range, you know this, right? It tells me to buy the low, using the 2-try rule, and the strength of this big bull run. Look at the strength of this thing, right, going lower. The strength of that big that big bear run, right, tells me to expect the sellers to try once more, most likely up around the highs of this, right, of this hidden channel, right? So again, we got that range. And I mean, it's almost getting boring at this point, right? On the euro, right? We saw that 1 try, 2 try, failure back down in yesterday. It was almost like the same thing today, right? 1 try, 2 try, failure, pullback, back in. We talked about this last night. If you watched last night's newsletter, you were ready to rock, right, on the euro this morning. And again, we talked about that pendulum swing, right? The trading range, the amount of the move up is the amount of the move down, and well, look where it finished the session today, right at that pendulum swing. Now, guys, obviously, don't be naive. They're not always going to be this perfect, but I'll tell you, this is a very, very well-behaved market. You've got that 2-try rule up above the high, that failure back in. You don't chase after it. You sell the pullback. This is obviously repeating myself, and we talked about earlier here today. And again, the pendulum swing all the way back down. Boy, oh boy, what a run, right, for those bears. Now, again, is this a good time to buy this market? Well, we're at the low of the range. Shouldn't we be buying down here? Let me ask you, where are we in the 2-try rule right now? Yes, I want to buy this, but where are we in the 2-try rule right now? You're right, we haven't pulled back to the moving average yet, have we? Remember, what makes a 2-try rule is a pull back to the moving average, right? So we get this big, strong run down, no pullbacks. Okay, we're just now starting to get close to that moving average now. So we should expect to see at least one more leg lower. Now, here's the rub, right? If you like wooden roller coasters, skydiving, right? Those crazy, wing suits, those nut jobs flying through New Zealand. Not unless you're one of those guys, right? You're not the nut job. You're the smart version of those people, right? Yeah, I'm kidding with you, obviously, but you don't talk about, right? If you like a little bit of danger, if you're a bit of a risk taker, right? You like looking over the edge of cliffs, right? Not my cup of tea, but if you like a little bit of risk, right, you could try to sell that next, right, that next leg lower. It's the same idea that we talked about on the S&P and the Nasdaq, right, where the S&P and the Nasdaq have that big run higher, right? Here's the S&P. S&P is that big blast higher. Yeah, I'm expecting a pullback. But here's the difference, though. On the S&P and the Nasdaq, we have a pattern here. It's a spike and channel. We can see buyers are coming to the rescue here. Right? We don't really have that yet on the euro, right? So if we started seeing a spike in channel, right? If we start seeing a spike in channel here, then yes, now I could get down with one more leg going lower, and where I would probably use this hidden channel, right? Somewhere up around here, right? So again, if you like a little danger in your world, right, you've got that hidden channel high, and then where would the target be? Probably the measured move. We see this all the time where you see one leg, a big leg, right, and a third leg. And if hopefully you're yelling, that looks like Elliott Wave, because that is Elliott Wave. I don't particularly use Elliott Wave very often, but I am a student of crowd psychology, and there's no better, right? There's no better person to learn, right? The crowd psychology or crowd mentality, right? Than R.N. Elliott, right? Great books available, right? And of course we talk about that in our beginner classes, right? So again, I don't think you're going to find a lot of value in Elliott Wave on an intraday basis in most scenarios, but this looks like, right, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, wave sequence. So I would expect usually waves 1 and 5 are about equal when wave 3 is really strong like this. So that's going to be, right, your measured move. You didn't know I knew Elliott, huh? Yeah, well, now you do. There's a lot more you don't know about me either. Make sure you grab that free course. Come out and join me tomorrow in the trade room as a client. You'll learn a whole lot more what we do here at School of Trade. So bottom line is, if we do see it start to, turn into that spike and channel here, sure. Now we can look for that next leg lower. And again, what would that pattern look like? It would be a 1 try, 2 try, right? It'd be a failure into strength, right? Strength into pullback, pullback back down, right? It's the failure, it's the pullback pattern. Those are the patterns you can use to get that measured move. 13,400, 13,300, 500, something like that, right, for that final target down there. And then, of course, what I think is going to be the more reliable trade here right now is that, right, unless we see that spike in channel going lower here, would be the one try, the two try, and then you know what I'm going to say, right? One try, two try, failure, nice strong failure higher, get that, right, get that move up, and then I'll look to buy that pullback as we go back up. Because this type of trade, we can put on a small amount of risk for a huge amount of reward, right? See, that type of trade, think about it, right? You get a lot of profit potential now to go back into that range. You just have to wait for that turn. If I try selling here now, right? Yeah, okay. There's a move there, but it's not nearly as enticing here, right, as the move higher, right? It's those small little mindset differences that make the big difference here, guys. So that's the plan there, right, on the euro. Really, really good charts. And guys, remember, I am passionate every day about making ordinary people into extraordinary traders. If you want to learn how the process works, I've got a great free trial on the homepage of our website. I got beginner, intermediate, advanced classes here at School of Trade. I got a toll-free number. Don't let my ugly mug scare you off there, right? Got a toll-free number right on our homepage. Call me anytime. I'd love to talk more about what's going on, right, and find ways that I can turn you into one of those extraordinary traders as well. Guys, as always, I really value your time. I know you got kids going back to school right now. I know life is busy. I know there are so many other pop-ups and YouTube things you can be doing right now. So thank you so much for spending the last almost an hour with me here on this YouTube channel. And so thanks so much for being here. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right? Get there early with me tomorrow morning. If not tomorrow morning, we'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow evening before 8 p.m. Eastern time every evening on our nightly newsletter. My name is Joseph. Once again, be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos.